Hello there. I'm Nancy Shore, the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement for Ann Arbor Public Schools, and I want to welcome you, our strategic partners, to the 2023-2024 school year. We're today going to give you a little bit of an overview of what to expect for this year, as well as some great resources to get you started and orient you to working with Ann Arbor Public Schools. So let us get started. All right then. Okay, great. So I am going to run through our presentation. So again, welcome, and all of this information is available in our guide for strategic partners. It's a pretty long guide, so this is going to give you some of the high-level information that you need to know, but there's a lot more in that guide, and you can see it when you click on the link to this presentation, which is also going to be at our a2schools.org/strategic partnerships link, or you can just click on a2schools.org/strategic partnerships. So what are we going to talk about today in this orientation? We're going to tell you a little bit about Ann Arbor Public Schools for those of you who may be new to your organizations. We're going to give you a little bit of information on some community resources and scholarships that you may want to know about, some information about volunteering at Ann Arbor Public Schools, review some of our policies, protocols, and procedures, give you some information on some great resources to help students if you work directly with students in our schools, and then finally touch on a couple of district initiatives that we are working on this coming year. So let's get started. So first of all, about Ann Arbor Public Schools, I've introduced myself. Hello, I'm Nancy Shore, the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement, and I am here to help connect most of you to our schools from the district level to help make sure that it is easiest and most effective for you to work with our schools. You may also be working with Elise Bailey, and Elise is our Health and Wellbeing Coordinator, and she primarily works with our health and well-being partners. We also have Jen Myers, and she is our office professional working in our office and helping to support a lot of the administrative work that we do, both on the volunteer end as well as on the scholarship end. So hello, and we're glad to serve you this year. So a little bit about Ann Arbor Public Schools itself. We have about 17,000 students, and these are some of the statistics from our fall 2020 enrollment presentation. And so some things that you may want to know is that about 1 in 8 of our students has a special need requiring an IEP or individualized education plan. 1 in 4 of our students live in homes that are impacted by poverty. And also 1 in 10 speak a language other than English as their first language. And that is actually an increasing population. So as you look at these statistics, is there anything that maybe jumps out at you, anything that surprises you? And what I would say is oftentimes people are pretty surprised at the number of students we have in our schools that are impacted by poverty. And what I always like to express to people is that AAPS is a pretty economically diverse community of schools, which means that in one classroom, you may have a student whose parent is a surgeon at Michigan Medicine, and you may also have a student whose parent is working at janitorial services at the University of Michigan. So there's a huge amount of economic diversity, and so that can present some opportunities as well as some challenges. You may also notice if you are working with a classroom of students that it's very, very common that you're going to have a student who may have a special need, a student who may be impacted by poverty, and a student who is an English language learner. So there's lots of variety and diversity in our schools, but something else to keep in mind is that we do have some economic segregation in our community. So schools that are on the east side of our community tend to have more students from poverty, more diverse populations than some schools on the west side of our community. But it is really varied, so it's going to depend on your school. So that brings me to my next point is how can you learn more about Ann Arbor Public Schools? We've got a variety of different platforms that you can use, everything from our main website that has all of the schools on it, to our social media platforms, to a news site with articles and videos. We even have a podcast. So if you want to learn more about Ann Arbor Public Schools, there's a lot of ways to do it. A couple of important links to know, and again, this slide deck is going to be available at a2schools.org/strategic partnerships. We've got some great links for you with updated staff directories, information about all of the support teams we have. We have links to lots of relevant resources on the AAPS website that you may frequently want to access. And then, of course, very important is our district calendar, as that will help you keep on top of any of our breaks or early release days. Another great resource at Ann Arbor Public Schools that you should definitely be aware of is that our Ann Arbor Community Education and Recreation Department. And so they have everything from our camps and classes to our aftercare and before care programs. And very important to note that they do have scholarships available, especially if students have free and reduced lunch. And so you can learn more about all of these great items at aareced.com, or again, by clicking on the links in this slide. So now we're going to go over briefly information about how you, as a strategic partner, if you're working with our students, can help connect them with community resources and scholarships. So we do have a great website page on our A2 Schools website called a2schools.org/community resources. And this is grouped by different types of resources. And so this is a great place to direct any families or students if they have questions about how to access something like food, emergency needs, basic needs, health support. We have all those categories on that site. Something else to know is that there are a variety of scholarships for students who may be having some financial need. If you go to a2schools.org/scholarships, we post a lot of the scholarships that AAPS provides for students. Many of these are scholarships for graduating seniors, and those tend to be posted in January, but we also have other scholarships available, so you can check out that site. And then, as I talked about before, our Rec and Ed department has several different scholarships for camps, after school programs, youth sports. So if you think that somebody you're working with may qualify for a scholarship or need a resource, you can direct them to these different areas. So now I want to briefly talk about volunteers at Ann Arbor Public Schools. So we have a volunteer site on our page at a2schools.org/volunteer. And this is really the hub for anybody who is outside of our community, who doesn't have a particular school in mind, who's a U of M student, who works in a course, who's at a community organization who wants to volunteer. And this is primarily for those that don't have a particular school in mind. So if you have a particular school in mind, you can go directly to that school. But if not, you can click on this link and there is a live application that is completed. And then we tend to place volunteers right now in September and October, as well as at the beginning of the year in January and February. So now I want to touch on a couple of important district policies that you would like to be aware of. So first of all, anybody who comes into our schools and interacts with students may find that they are concerned about what a student reports to them, concerned about something that they see with a student, they observe. And so we really want to just make sure that you are aware that that may occur for you. And so first of all, you want to know the signs of child abuse and neglect. And if you go onto this slide deck and you click on that section in our guide on reporting child abuse and neglect, you'll be able to learn more about the different signs. You definitely want to tell an AAPS staff, or if you have certain protocols at your organization, please follow those protocols and talk to your staff or supervisor. And then, of course, we don't want to post on social media. We want to keep things confidential so that any particular situation is handled appropriately. So another exciting policy that we have this year is that there is free breakfast and lunch for all students. And we do have a family letter that was sent to every single student in our district. Even though everything is free, we do need to have families complete an application. And so that is something that you'll find on this family letter as well. But this is just a really exciting opportunity for every student to have access to free breakfast and lunch. Another policy that you might want to be aware of, this is both related to anything that students say to you. So if you're working in our schools and you're connecting with the student, it's really important to recognize that it's wonderful that that student may share something with you. They may share something about their educational challenges, something that's happening personally to them at home. And so we really want to make sure that you know that all of that information is protected by law. These are all minors that you're working with, and so they don't have consent to say, sure, share my information with your neighbors, with your coworkers, in a document. And so you really want to make sure that you are complying by all of our policies related to student privacy. And so you can learn more about that in our guide. So this year, we still do have information about COVID awareness. We do need any staff member or volunteer who is diagnosed with COVID to complete an application form so that we can track it. And so that information is also available on the AAPS website, and you can see a link on the slide here. So now I want to go into a couple of district procedures and protocols that will be relevant to you as you visit our schools. So first, of course, is our visitor protocols, and these are really important to follow. First of all, if you do want to visit our schools, we'd really encourage you to schedule your visit ahead of time to make sure that everybody is expecting you, to make sure that that staff person is going to be there. You always want to find the main entrance of the building. All of our schools are closed during normal business hours, so you're going to need to ring a buzzer. And then the best thing that you need to do is to make it very clear who you are. You can say your name, if you have an organization, and then who you're here to see. They should let you in. Once you come in, go to that main office, and then you want to bring a photo ID because the front office staff is going to put you into our visitor management system, and then you're going to get a visitor badge. It's extremely important that you do this every single time you come in so that we have a clear understanding of who's in our buildings at all times. And this is really important in case of an emergency so that you are kept safe if anything is to happen. Okay. So speaking of an emergency, important emergency protocols for any of our visitors to follow. So first of all, it's really important for you to remain as calm as possible. You may be in need of assisting other students, so that's really important. Following any instructions for staff. So all staff have been trained in emergency protocol, so you're not expected to know what to do, but you are expected to follow some of the instructions by staff. We do have signs in all of our school classrooms that talk about some of the different emergency procedures, so you can go onto this slide and get information about that. And then, of course, both while that incident is happening or afterwards, please do not post anything on social media. We want to make sure that the schools can get on top of communicating about whatever happened. So these are some things you can do. And when in doubt, always go to any staff member that you can find, go to the front office to seek assistance, or stay in place if you don't have any idea of what to do. But again, you should always have a staff person that you can turn to in the event of an emergency. So another protocol that you may want to be aware of, so any strategic partner has the opportunity to promote activities and events that you have. The parameters for promoting an event or activity is that as long as it's free and open to the public, you can email myself, shoren@a2schools.org, and give us a short 1 to 2 sentence blurb. We really would love for you to include any links because we can put this in our weekly email update to families, or we can target information. So also be aware that we are not printing out flyers and distributing to schools, but we are more than happy to share the information. Again, as long as it's free and open to the public, please send the information our way. So now I want to touch on some resources for learning. So this is really great for any of you who may be supporting and working with our students. And there's a lot of great resources. So if you go into our guide, you will find a whole section, and it's outlined by different types of curriculum area. We actually have on our website a link to all the curricular maps so that you can see what students are learning in different stages. And then it also gives you information on some of our different learning management systems, information on things like Lexia and Dreambox, as well as lots of different flyers and information that families have been getting. So this is a great place for you to go if you are curious about what is happening in terms of learning for students. And so finally, I want to touch on a couple of initiatives that we are doing this year. Now, this is not a comprehensive list, but these are some of the things that we are working on as a district that you may want to be aware of. So a couple of these initiatives. So we are really focusing this year on employee well-being. We absolutely recognize that the well-being of our students is intricately intertwined with the well-being of our staff, and our staff right now are really struggling. And so we're going to do a couple different things. We're going to be providing training for staff. We're going to be providing support for staff and lots of resources. So that's something that we're doing over the course of this entire year. We also, in our health and well-being area that Elise Barely is working on, we are using what is called the WISC model, and this is the whole child, whole school, whole community, whole child model. And this is a CDC model that outlines different areas of health and well-being, and we've been looking at what are the things that we're doing well in these areas and where are some priorities for this coming year. So we're using that model to help us and guide our health and well-being work. We are also working on something around what is called the multi-tiered social support. And so this is a framework that we have had in our schools, but we are working on refining and continuing to enhance this framework. And what it's really allowing us to do is ensuring that every student gets the type of support that they need. So first of all, we're looking at this year, what is the type of core support that we want to provide to every student, and how are we making sure that we're doing that well? And then from there, we're going to reach out into what if a student needs more than that core support, and what are the kind of supports do they need, both social, emotional, academically. And of course, a lot of our strategic partners are involved in providing those supports. So we may be talking to you about that in the coming years as well. We're doing a lot around the elementary literacy and math area. So we are continuing to focus on evidence-based strategies in teaching to ensure that all of our students are getting the type of literacy and math, especially at the elementary level, that are going to be most effective. So you can learn more about that in our guide. And then finally, we're really excited this year that we are able to provide 50 teachers with a free master's to help them better work with our students who speak English as a second language. And so this is with a partnership with Western Michigan University. And so that's really great because we do have an increasing number of English language learners in our schools. So with that, I want to thank you for looking at this overview, getting some information. Again, much more information is in our guide. You can also access these slides and get a lot of information for you there. But in general, I absolutely want to thank you for being a strategic partner for the 2023-2024 school year. Here I am again. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at our partners@a2schools.org email, or myself, Shore N, at a2schools.org. And again, thank you so much for being a strategic partner for the 2023-2024 school year. And we will be sharing a lot more with you in the coming year. Thank you. Bye.